Now if we move to the detail view, and of course we can flip back and forth from the list view to detail view by the little navigation triangles there. We have our division code and our cost code. The default cost codes that we usually provide are the Standard Construction Specifications Institute codes, or CSI codes. We actually still keep with the 16 division format, even though they have moved on to another format, but that's gradually getting accepted. But we start to get more information about a particular cost code. The first one is additional names and codes, or categories. What we have here, these category and subcategory codes, can actually go across, spread across division and cost codes. So we can have soft cost on any cost code, no matter what division it is, no matter what cost code it is. And a lot of this is used for banking scenarios, or if you wanted to group things in a little different way than you may have done before. And it allows for some customization of reporting if you want. So we have a category and then we have a subcategory. And the pop-up list here is just simply self-learning pop-up of everything that is in the system so far. And we've had some people actually will redefine this as a kind of a secondary cost code thing. They would put this as, okay, here's our division code, but now we want to group a whole slew of cost codes all into one subcategory. So there's several different ways that you could play with this so that you can have multiple reporting capabilities. The other field here is simply for additional names. So when you search in our search capabilities, you can search for general requirements or general conditions, and either one of those searches will come up with this geocode 101000. Division codes are alphanumeric, and so are cost codes are alphanumeric. I kind of strongly suggest that you keep with numbering numbers unless you really have good reasons to use letters for those codes. And I say that for future use when we dealing with codes and SQL-based databases don't really like alphanumeric key fields. So with that said, right now we can support letters and numbers in there. We prefer if you can stick with numbers. The next tab is the accounting area. These two fields, the import export note and import export number, those are purely for compatibility with other systems. We have some clients that may use QuickBooks for some of their accounting, and they want to be able to synchronize this code or this description with another system. And this allows us to do that. We ECL Software have also used these fields when we import from other construction management and accounting systems. The other two fields here under accounting are simply the GL codes that can be used. Back in the company accounting setup where we identify where the default GL code should come from when you create a client billing or a vendor invoice in the system, the detail lines, where should it come from? And if you click cost codes, this is where they're going to come from. So if you're on the expense side, meaning vendor and invoices and checks, money going out, aka the debit side, this is the code that it's going to draw from. If you're on the money coming in side, client billings and deposits, so forth, this is the code that it will pull from. So if you don't tell the accounting system that you're connected, you're pulling from your GL codes from your cost codes, then you really don't have to worry about filling that in. The next tab that we have for cost codes is all regarding payroll. And we just have three fields here. The first field is a pay rate link code. And we've gotten in the habit of using this as a letter, even though we probably should have changed it to a number. Maybe in a future release we'll have to. But for now, we will keep with letters. And this will make a little bit more sense when we are start building master pay rates or pay rates for a particular employee. And what this does, it allows for you to group together a group of cost codes that you want. If someone does estimating, let's say, they will get one pay rate, but if they do architectural work, they get some other pay rate. Obviously, we're just dealing with a couple general condition items here, but that's the example. So different tasks that an employee does, you can actually assign different pay rates for it. And this also goes for in projects too. When we get to talking about projects, projects have pay rates as well. So you'll establish these masters, and right now everything is going to be default to A. Everything needs in the pay rate link code in CMIS 611, that's going to always default to an A. In building our relationships and cleaning that up, you'll notice that pay rate codes that used to just have the number from the project will also have a number and a letter with it. One of the questions that came up, and noticing that we have 4-digit GL codes, when we start talking about, let me go back to the accounting here. When we start talking about GL codes, we'll cover that, but GL codes can be whatever you want to design them to be. They can be 1 digit, 2 digits, 3 digits, 10 digits, whatever you want the code to be, so long as it's a unique number across all your codes. So GL codes would be any number that you want. Same thing with cost codes. Cost codes can be anything that you want. The 5-digit code is kind of what complies to the 16 division format of the CSI, so that's kind of our default. But again, cost codes could be 1 digit. If you only have 9 or 10 cost codes, then just use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you want to have some other schema involved with them, you can obviously expand that out. But cost codes do need to be unique, and they do need to be unique across all your companies. And that means that you can't have a cost code 01000 to mean one thing in one company and mean something else in another company. They have to mean the same thing across multiple companies, which means if you want to share cost codes, and this is one of the areas that in GL codes you would want to share over in the company setup sharings, company one, let's say, which is going to maintain the master cost codes, they're going to want to share that with all the other companies. So all the other companies can use company one cost codes and GL codes. So on the payroll side, we have this pay rate link code, which will apply across all cost codes. And obviously, if estimating gets something different, you may put a B here or some other name description for it. That people that do that will get a different pay rate than what they normally would get. The other two fields here are simply the high wage and low wage, and these are your workman's comp codes. And most of your codes, most workman's comp, especially state fund and a lot of other workman's comp areas, will actually have two codes based upon the wage that you're paying the employee. So if the employee is making 12 to 20 bucks an hour, he'll get maybe a low wage rate, which usually means it's a higher rate. And then the person that's getting a high wage, maybe from 25 to 50 bucks an hour, he'll get a different workman's comp code for that task. And even though the actual workman's comp rate would probably be less. So can be a little confusing, meaning high wage, low wage. That's the wage that the employee is getting, not the rate, high rate or low rate, that the workman's comp is, because usually that's just the reverse. Usually the high wage gets the low rate, and the low wage gets the high rate. So keep in mind that this is the wage that an employee is making. And obviously you click which one it is. Now we've done this, and we've heard many different things from clients auditing. We still have the assumption that if you keep very good records of what tasks people do, they should only get charged the workman's comp rate for the tasks that they're doing. Some auditors have bunked that, and until I get a lawyer that actually tells me that that is not the case, we're going to keep CMIS working that way. You will see in contacts, we do have a workman's comp rate that you can tie to an employee. So you can do that, thereby leaving this area blank. All right, the other two little fields here that we have off to the side, those are kind of for us support things to validate what company code you're actually, these codes were assigned to or created in. Okay, so up at the top here, throughout the whole system, you'll probably see these 5 commands. We have new, find, print, actions, and delete. Obviously the new command simply creates a new cost code record. If I click that, I'll end up with a blank record, and it's going to start asking me, you know, what do I want, what division, what cost code, and I just start filling in the information for it. And if I've never used this, let's put something in there so I can commit the record. This has to be unique. If I've never used this cost code, I can actually delete it, and it deletes it out. And just so you know, when you go over to preferences here, activity, it actually told me on April 20th at 7:37 a.m. here, cost codes, deletion. I deleted, if I click here, I deleted that cost code. So it tracks that. However, it does actually test the system so that if this cost code is used in an estimate or has been used in the financial area, it won't delete it. But what it will do is then mark it inactive. So if you try to delete something and it's used somewhere, it will just simply mark it as inactive rather than deleting it out. Obviously the find button, we all know how that works. You click find, all the fields open up, and you can search for on any field what you want to search for. You click on find again, and that finds the record. I mentioned this before. The quick find up here will probably get used way more than anything else, because in this scenario, if I just type requirements and hit my enter key, I'm going to find that same record because requirements is right here. So this searches on all the fields across the whole database. Print, this is where we can print our list of cost codes. And we have several reports here. And as you know, in the company setup area, you can turn these off or on. So if there's reports that you never use, you never want other people to be printing them out, to be confused, you can simply turn them off and they no longer appear in this menu. If you do want them, you can always turn them back. The other item here is we have our action items, so we can find all the records here. Or right now all we have is find all or find only. Sometimes we'll have, we look in GL codes, we'll have find just the active ones and so forth. And so I'm going to do my little, again, to show you the requirements. I hit my return key and boom, there's my one thing. If I there's my 3 electrical codes here. So this quick find becomes very, very powerful for it. We've talked about the commit button in committing a record that's open. This is the kind of the navigation. The first one moves you to the first record. The last one moves you to the last record, and these will move you up the records and down the records. And you can see what record you're on here. Plus you can see when you're in list view, if you can see this little black bar here, indicates what record you're on as well. And then our help screen, and this will probably come up with a blank, not found. Actually, we've changed where they point to. This will have all of the information that we're sending out in our little PDF files will actually be here in the help files. We're turning them into HTMLs. But what we really would like you to do, if you do have an issue, and you're doing this on your own machine that you have your Outlook or mail or email client on, you can click on the support button, and this will create an email. I'll pop here email here. I'll show that. It's going to actually go to our support. It's setting up an issue at the CMIS cost codes detail view, so it actually initiates, hey, we know where you're at, where you were in the system. It will give information about what version you're on, what version you're using, what privilege set you are, and it allows you to describe what the problem is and steps on how to recreate that problem. And if you can give us this information, we usually can track down and find the solution very, very quickly, especially if you've given us reproducible steps. Now, we know that there's a lot of issues that you don't necessarily are able to reproduce. That just means we don't really know what caused it. And those are always the most difficult to track down. But that also means that there's probably a user process that changes that makes it do something different. One thing about programs is if you do the exact same thing, they usually will do the same problem over and over again. So this is very, very helpful if you can send in your requests that way. I know some of you are actually in a test environment that we're hosting for you. That isn't set up to, your email client isn't set up there, so you're going to have to kind of send us outside of the system for it. So let me go ahead and I don't need to say that. So this is helpful, even though to you not having this filled in yet in a lot of the areas, I should say, especially now that we've switched some things around. But this area is the support, doing a support email from here will make a big difference. Okay, one of the questions that we had is, can we add our own tips in the help section throughout CMIS? And I'll say eventually yes, and there's a couple things. I'll kind of digress here just for a moment. We are integrating more tightly through our support website. We're getting that redesigned to integrate tightly with our on-time software that we use that manages all these features and bugs and incidences that we have. And we have, they also have the ability to have these what we call wiki pages for it. So we're going to be setting up, every client will have their own, could have their own wiki page if they want. That's one of the reasons why we made a change to where this points to, because we're going to have the ability to click a button here that will go to that. Within this screen, you'll be able to go to your own little wiki page, in which case you'll be able to say, oh, okay, well, for this screen, we want to make sure that we do this, and this. So that's one area that we're working on to help, that we will have probably within the next 4 weeks, I think is when I know in about 2 weeks we'll start reviewing our new website and testing it and doing all that type of stuff. So I can't imagine taking a couple more weeks after that to finalize it. The other area that we've actually talked about before in the company setups area, and where did we have that? Under operations, where we would have these tasks built. That would be another area where you can start defining what you're able to do in what areas for it. As far as changing, for example, these tooltips, we won't be able to change, you don't have access to change those, and we currently don't have any plans for the user capability of changing that. The other thing you might want to know is by clicking in a field, if you're actually in a field and you click our help button, it will give the name of the field, the purpose of the field you are in, category, that's the actual programming name of the field, is similar to division, classification, or separating hard costs versus soft costs as an example. So this actually will tell you what our programming purpose or our intention of that field is. And that we do have quite description of a cost code. So this is just simply additional descriptions of that cost code. So we do have that built in throughout the system.